We've run two or three models to try and predict that. And when you sort of take the average of all of them, our prediction is a little lower than the ones you'd find for, say, Charlie Cook or Real Clear Politics. But our prediction is 45 seats. No, there have been Bill Clinton lost over 50, and in 1994, and Lyndon Johnson lost a larger number in 1966. He didn't lose a majority as Bill Clinton did in 1994, but I think the important question is that's enough for Barack Obama and the Democrats to lose their majority. I think the Democrats are not likely to lose the Senate. I think the very worst they could do is 50-50, but I personally believe the actual result will be 51 or 52 seats for the Democrats and 48 or 49 for the Republicans. Well, that was dead anyway. After they got health care, the House of Representatives passed cap and trade, but that cap and trade had no chance in the Senate, as 26 Democratic senators had already voted long ago to keep it off reconciliation, which means that it has to have 60 votes. Reconciliation votes only need 50. And so the fact that 26 Democrats had already voted to keep it off reconciliation meant it wasn't going to pass. And as you can now see, some candidates, the governor of West Virginia, the gubernatorial former governor of West Virginia running for the U.S. Senate took out the cap and trade bill and put a rifle shot through it the other day. So many Democrats are running against it anyway. Yes, it turns out that if you look at how the president's job approval at this point at the end of the first 2 years, essentially, of their presidential terms, the job approval predicts absolutely nothing about reelection. George Herbert Walker Bush had approval ratings that were quite high, over 70%, and lost. Ronald Reagan had approval ratings in 1982 about the same level as Obama's, and won. And Harry Truman in 1946 had approval ratings of 33 and won election. So as my colleague Morris Fiorian and I say, a year in politics is an eternity, and it really is going to depend on how President Obama reacts to the Republican takeover and what the Republicans decide to do. I don't think they'll particularly be any more conservative than the Republicans that were ahead of them. It's just that the Democrats that they'll be replacing are by and large blue dog or moderate Democrats, so that the Republican Party, the Congress itself, then will get more polarized because the Democrats who are left will be more liberal and the Republicans who are in will be more conservative. Well, the Tea Party, depending upon how you survey it, my view is the Tea Party has about 10% of the American electorate sort of identifies themselves as Tea Partiers. Approximately a third identify with it in one way or another. Most of the people who are in the Tea Party are Republicans, and a majority of the supporters of Tea Party principles, budgetary principles, et cetera, are in the Republican Party, though independents have more warm feelings toward it than do Democrats. The real dilemma is if the Republicans come to him with bills that say, look, we've got to cut spending, so here's some cuts in education, here's some cuts here, here's some ideas in regard to pension plans. If he puts something that's reasonable, then the president, seems to me, is going to have to be hard pressed to respond. If they come in and propose a lot of things like, they're not going to do it, but eliminating Social Security or huge cutbacks in popular programs, then all the president has to do is say, I'm not going to go for that. And then he'll win that battle, just as Bill Clinton won the battle versus Newt Gingrich. Absolutely. They came into office and said, if we pass the stimulus, unemployment will stay under 8.2%. It went to 10%. It's still at 9.7%. So in that sense, most people think the stimulus didn't work. The deficit, the federal debt is 25% now. The deficit is 25% of the federal economy, of the U.S. economy now. That's at an all-time high. And so those kind of issues of spending and debt and no jobs, really the job recovery not being very strong, are absolutely at the core of his dilemma.